And that was a great beginning of the stream face. Beautiful, Sarah P. Serranus, here's a little lackluster. Victor, at least you have nice hair. There we go.
I'm living on my hair, okay?
In theater, they make you do like little face and then big face, and it goes like this. They're like, little face,
Victor, at least you have
big face.
There we go. Nice.
That was actually a little terrifying.
It is. Theater is terrifying.
So, welcome to twitch.tv/thecarpediem. I, of course, am the Carpe Diem, whom you can find pretty much everywhere as that guy. This is my lovely wife, the Coven, whom you can find
On Discord sometimes, and on his channel.
and at Twitter, I think. Right?
Yeah. I don't do Twitter.
I don't do Twitter.
Fair enough.
I just watch on Twitter. I'm a voyeur on Twitter.
Stalker.
Oh my.
And Serranus, who are you?
Well, you just said my name.
Well, other than a very curious puppy.
I'm a curious. Okay. You can find me. My name is Serranus. Well, not really. However, you will know me as Serranus because I command it. And you can catch me at twitch.tv/Serranus, youtube.com/Serranus, and twitter.com/Serranus. And it is only slightly more creepy if there are owls in it.
Sometimes it's a lot more creepy, though.
Yeah.
Alright, and Victor, who are you?
Vampires.
I'm
I'm running out tomorrow.
I'm so psyched for that. I'm Mr. Sunshine, hang out on Nerd Discord. Quite often a player in the one-shots on both channels. That's about it.
Oh yeah.
And Sarah P, other than my most rabid fan.
I'm not going to dispute that. I am Sarah P. That's me. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah P. That's me. I do a lot of stuff for the nerd community, including blog things. I run nerd-community.com's blog section. And I also am in quite a number of streams with Evil Squeegee's channel at Twitch.
That's right.
Evil Squeegee. I'm in Judas Steer with Serranus on Fridays, and some more things to come. So, pretty excited. That's about it for me, I'd say. I hang out on Discord also, so basically Discord is the place to be. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Those
So-
are quite biased.
No, we're not biased at all.
No.
Not even a little. Not even a little. Pyromancy, you're not poor. You just haven't been pillaging as much as the rest of us.
We are competing with the Vikings, so I mean...
You are competing with a Viking.
And Sarah, but she's cheating.
Yeah.
What?
well,
I'm not cheating.
I do not cheating. We English good today here, ladies and gentlemen.
On point. On point.
It's a pickable game.
Human language is hard for altogether talking or expressing things.
I don't do grammar.
So, today, instead of playing a D&D game, because, honestly, sadly, Mystic was unable to be here with us, as she is sick. And she was the center point for my whole party.
Oh, shit.
Today, we will be answering a lot of questions about Avallore that any viewers might have, and Serranus, Victor, and Sarah P might have. Oh, come on, I love bouncing.
I know, but I'm not sure the viewers like your bouncing.
Anyway, so very brief background. Avallore is the campaign world in which all of my one-shots are run. All of my D&D one-shots. It is a place where there are all of the basic races of the PHB for D&D 5th edition, with the exception of Dragonborn, are available for players to play. And the races are all somewhat distinct from each other at the moment, but they have begun to come together, and they have formed an adventurers guild, which both allows travel between the different areas of the world, which otherwise take very long periods of time to get between, and also
How did
provides
Uh,
our first
well,
question.
How did they create the demiplane?
How did they create the demiplane? That is a long story that will be told in a campaign someday.
Someday?
Someday, hopefully
Oh,
soon.
yeah, the
I volunteer as
origin
tribute.
story of the Adventurers Guild.
There's many
Yeah, I
tributes.
volunteer as tribute.
I'm gonna be that guy. I'm quite sure I've seen you have one adventure in Forgotten Realms too. The whole one.
Yes, I did in fact have one adventure in the Forgotten Realms.
Technically.
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 And in the Feywilds, and
Yeah, but Feywilds.
Well, but the Feywilds are...
Worlds correspond to
yeah, they're a reflection of Avallore, so
Exactly. They
That's
are...
the plan.
They are related to a particular material plane.
yes.
So, excellent. That was the
and
first question.
And the
Awesome.
fireplane.
Yeah. Actually, yes, that was the Avallorian fireplane.
Yeah, would have
I-
had to be.
Yeah, I totally did not just make up that word.
For those of you who might be watching and wondering, we had a character who was a fire genasi who came from apparently the Avallorian fireplane.
Who, Jandar?
Yeah, wasn't he? Was
No.
he Avallorian? No,
He was from a different plane.
I don't think we actually have had the fire genasi yet.
So then, what's this fireplane you're talking about?
When
one
Tranquil and
Tranquil
Wank
Oh,
were in.
that's right. Okay.
So, one of my main goals for today is to clear up, as actually to understand how you guys see all the different races, because I've kind of been trying to characterize each of them distinctly from each other, and I'm trying to see if I've done that successfully, or if I haven't, and there's more I need to do.
We haven't really seen much of the Frostworks, so characteristically, I'm actually very interested in see how they work.
I feel the same way about the gnomes.
Interesting.
And then, yeah, the gnomes are really fun.
I haven't seen more
As-
Frostworld because reasons.
A player of a gnome, a fairly famous gnome
Frostdwarfs or
because
Frostdwarfs?
of
Dwarves.
Frostworks, the tiefling style thing. Also, I would like to learn a little bit more of the gnomes as well.
Okay. Well,
Zenzadunk.
where would you
It's
guys like to start? What race would you guys like to start with?
Frostworks is fine.
Shall we take them in size order?
Size order.
We
From
can
smallest
go
to
from
biggest or
like
biggest
we
to
can go
smallest?
we can go from like the top down
All right.
because
Minotaurs.
gnomes
That's-
are literally like right under them.
Sure.
Jonas, you are laggy. Is he laggy?
Am I
for you
laggy?
guys?
I'm sorry.
Is he laggy for you guys?
I should stop the stream.
Okay. No, he's probably not. But
All right. So let's start with the Frost Dwarves, which are probably one of the best. Ooh. Evil Squeegee is hosting on his way to the shower. That sounds pretty sexy.
Sweet.
Thank you very much, Squeegee. Definitely check out Evil Squeegee.
Here.
Ah! I'm not typing in the right spot. Follow Evil Squeegee. Boom. So, Frost Dwarves. One of the better described ones, since we have had a number of them that have been prominent in various one-shots. So, what do you guys know about Frost Dwarves?
They worship Rydia exclusively. They're very big on the order thing. Thori is a bit of an oddball in Frost Dwarven culture.
I know that from Crystalla.
Yes.
They have beautiful wings.
But I knew that before.
Chris, yeah,
So, I'm going to start zooming in on this beautiful map, done
It's not
almost
done yet.
entirely by Miss Coven here. I'm
Well,
sorry,
it's-
Ms. Coven. Well,
It's
part of the
not
Coven.
done yet.
Kristalla is right here, and is the farthest northern city in Avallore. Well, that we know of, anyway. And that is the home of the Frost Dwarves. The Frost Dwarves are mechanically the same as dwarves, except where the dwarves have resistance to poison, Frost Dwarves actually have resistance to cold damage. Not a huge difference there. Anyway, so yes, they definitely worship Iridia, obviously, with all the circles and circular symbolism that is all around their towers and their city. They definitely believe in order, and they're all about... They're kind of like the detectives that are religious, sort of. They have their procedures that they follow. They tend to be very respectful, even if they don't believe you, which some of you might have found out in that one shot where... Vlar, you were the one investigating what happened with Arden, correct?
Yes. And
And me.
every one of them looked at Vlar with this mistrust and kind of fear because he was human.
That is definitely part of it. Another part was that a member of the Adventurers Guild, which all of the
Yes.
races bought into, had just recently come there and killed a whole bunch of innocent people, from their perspective.
Played by Sarah P.
Yeah, played by Sarah P. Thanks, Sarah P, for killing all those innocents.
Yes, you do.
Yep. Yes, she does.
Of which I legally cleared your name.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's Frost Dwarves, but what about Frost Dwarks?
Frost Dwarks are from Gustum, and the reason you guys haven't seen a whole lot of those
I know
is...
exactly one.
There's actually been two. Slentle was played by Sizz. And Slentle is actually a some amount of times great grandson of Svinta, who was a frost dwarf, who was the last, officially the last living member of the Frost Dwarfs. But there were a bunch of others that had kind of scattered when Gustum was completely destroyed about 400 or 500 years ago by a whole bunch of dragons, when dragons just washed over the lands, and each major city was able to repel them except for Gustum. Well, repel them or hide well enough.
Selly was a Frost Orc too, right? Selly?
Sally?
Selly was a dwark.
She's a dwarf, plain dwarf. Okay.
Yep, plain dwark from further
What's
south.
the difference for the south?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there were nothing plain about Sally.
Frost dwarks, mechanically, are tieflings. Except instead of being fire-themed, they are, of course, cold-themed. Visually, they look like a cross between the orcs and the frost dwarves, where they have kind of weird, cold-colored hair. And they're taller than normal dwarves, but they're a little more stout and definitely shorter than regular orcs.
Okay.
Whereas dwarks from from further south in this endless shifting desert here are...
Dwarks are from the cavern.
Yes, dwarks are from the Pravis Gorge here, hollowed out by the Kara River. And their main city is Sila, but most people don't really know a whole lot about Sila because they keep it secret, and in fact they were able to avoid the notice of the dragons, which is why I added that, well, repelled or kept themselves hidden. A&A. True.
Mr. Dubois coming in with quite the entrance. What is this shit?
Yep. So, Gustum was mostly demolished and destroyed by the dragons that swept across Avallore. And about 200 years ago, or 300 years ago, not about 100 years after the dragons swept across, Svinta went around gathering up as many frost dwarks as they could, and helpers from the orcs and the frost dwarves to rebuild Gustum. And that's where it currently is right now. People are rebuilding Gustum. It's what's left of the frost dwarks, led by a couple of factions. There's the group that follows Svinta as almost a goddess, and there's also a group that just believes that they need to believe in themselves rather than any particular people. And those two aren't necessarily...
believes in you.
Yeah. And it's not so much that... That's funny because she changed to get into a... Anyway, the two factions aren't necessarily opposing each other, it's just that they don't believe in exactly the same things. But yes, Frostworks are inherently magical. The Gustum was actually built on a magically active site, but it's been overrun with dragons and little kobold things and other stuff that has caused it to be basically just a ruin all over the place.
So,
Cool.
that's pretty... That was a pun. It's Frost.
Unintentional.
Excellent.
Shall we talk about the gnomes?
Sure. So what do you guys know about gnomes?
Zenzadunk is one.
Very true.
We're all well aware that
They
the
are-
gnomes are on.
They are sailors, and then they're kind of like split up into different clans. Zenzadunk is a member of the Wind Clan. They mostly live on ships and such.
Mhm.
The Wind Clan does. Zenzadunk was on the no.
Did you say the minnow?
Yeah.
Ooh.
All I really know about the
What?
gnomes and their ships.
What about the 3-hour tour?
Oh. I hate you. The
Oh,
3-hour tour.
it's a good thing you got off that ship, huh? Anyway,
Mr. Dubois, I have a question.
when is Ilfrin coming back? I have promised Sarah that I will not bring Ilfrin back without A, checking with her first, and B, a very, 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 very good reason.
Like you want to, or something like that.
Like I want to. Yeah, exactly.
Or like Orcus comes out of the abyss.
Honestly, that'd probably be a good enough reason.
Or like Orcus steals his soul and comes out of the abyss and resurrects him or something.
I mean, technically, it seems like there's an Ilfrin in every world, so just because the Avallore one's dead.
There was a sentence that got away from me.
I think Pixie is
Oh.
Ilfrin's new
Go
war
next
fox.
week.
We know that there are like an infinite number of possibilities for stories in which Alfred could come back. Like,
Yes.
you can write
Uh-huh.
that any way you want. It's just a matter of like, is that the best move for the character? Because he had such a profound impact that I don't want him coming back to cheapen anything that happened with him before.
Yeah.
That's
We
my
don't
big-
want it to be a bad rerun. Or not rerun, a bad sequel.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, I don't want it to be a bad sequel. And I
However,
don't want to state what the League of the Loot did.
that being said, I have plans for what caused Ilfrin.
Ooh.
Oh man, guys.
Oh man.
Oh man.
So, back to gnomes.
Back to notes.
All I really know is that Pixie and Alistair were on a ship with gnomes at one point called the Building. That's literally all. She met a half orc there. She learned her cooking skills from. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Carpe is bad at sequels, but might be good at prequels.
Oh.
So, gnomes tend to be the seafaring gnomes, by the way, which are the ones in the blue circles. They're the ones that are the merchants. They're on the ships. They tend to be like merchant pirates. Like, they're all about the, getting the best of any particular deal. But they also look towards the future in making those deals. So they might be willing to give up something that seems like a bad deal in order to make agreements with people for the future. Those kinds of things. They are very much capitalists, and they are also knowledge gatherers. So if...
Hence the bard bit with the knowledge gatherers.
Oh, yes. And storytellers, which is why they worship Vorn Klexiclap.
Mm-hmm.
Which was also alluded to by Miss Sarah P. That's Me.
Oh, hell yeah. Thanks again, Pyromancy.
Yes. Thank you, Pyromancy, because that was beautiful.
Of which I know Zenzadunk does worship Born Klexiclap.
Good.
Well,
What's orange dust? Orange dust is the substance found beneath Rinwin's library floor. It is also something that apparently causes him to forget it when he sees it. And it is also something that Pixie has been trying to figure out exactly what its nature is. And she can only get Rinwin to remember her even mentioning it when she speaks in rhyme.
It will be so funny when Pixie finally get him to remember.
That's like my ultimate goal as a player. What is the orange dust? What is it? I probably built it up to be a lot more of a thing than it is.
I have
Oh.
a theory.
It's also something that, when imbibed by Rinwin inside his library, caused him to change something about himself.
Oh my goodness. And that is true.
And
If you want perception of what that was like, you're asking if you've done things the way that you wished you had.
sure,
She's like, who loves me?
Well, I'm not gonna rehash the story, but the perception that I got as a player in the scene from the way that you described it was that Rinwin, the one who doesn't remember anything, that his personality was replaced by an entirely different personality for a brief moment. Something that had more knowledge than he did. That was the perception that I got. So,
well,
and yeah,
then.
ever since then, Pixie's been fixated on it.
Well then, I did it right.
She wants to know who that person is, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That would be
So
something
gnomes?
interesting to find out. So gnomes.
So knows.
Totally unrelated.
Yeah, they are pretty much in clans. The different clans hold sway in different areas. I haven't really determined which clan has sway in which areas specifically, but I know that the Wind clan does a lot of business right around here, which is where I placed Zenzadunk on the map, quite appropriately, because that is the place where they have the most interaction with orcs. I also have them down in this area. Which clan was Gwen, dear? Gwen Lily Turin was
I don't remember.
your character.
I know. It was like a water clan, I think.
Well,
Is it not on her character sheet, I'm guessing?
I don't remember. I don't want to look it up right now.
It's on her physical character sheet,
Anyway,
but probably not.
so Gwen Lily Turin is the character my wife played in a one-shot with Pluto Fairy and Lady A, I believe, on her birthday. So I'm going to have to maybe see if I can get them back next year for another birthday stream.
Was it Sarah too?
I did not play in that one.
Nope. Although there's plenty of space
Yeah, that's true.
if we want to include her next year.
We'll see.
Anyway. So,
And by next year, well, actually, yeah, it is next year.
Yeah.
Because in January.
I was gonna say it's January, isn't it? Because I was pretty sure that I just showed up to the herd at that point. Before it was even the herd.
Before it was the herd.
What's
Matt!
the most?
Has a great question.
ooh, that is a good question. What is the most mystically inclined race, and what's the worst thing they've done? Are you Okay, let me ask my panelists, what do you guys think?
Mystically inclined?
Mystically inclined.
As in magically inclined?
The
Or
way
is
you
it-
described the frost orcs, them, but I'm probably going to lean more towards the human.
I would say humans.
I mean, the orcs are quite mystical too.
Yeah, but for a different reason.
Not evil,
Because they're druids.
but I'm quite sure that the humans behind the most worst thing, so to speak.
Probably the worst thing humans have done is summon
Make
Asmodeus.
devil summoning a part of their
Nope.
culture.
Nope, that is not the worst thing they've done. The worst
what did they
thing that humans have done, and technically it was a dwarf that actually did it. The worst thing that humans done was make a deal with Asmodeus
That's
and
right.
keep up the bargain. That's the worst thing that any
Human.
that any person has done that I am currently aware of.
Summoning
I can see
Asmodeus and
Mordecai.
making a deal with the guy?
Although, arguably, anyone who makes a deal with dragons could potentially be doing something worse.
Maybe. Because I actually don't think you can count Asmodeus to his word.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can?
Oh, yes.
'Cause
He
he's
is.
a devil. Maybe
All
he's
devils
lawful.
are lawful evil creatures. They will keep their bargains. However, it is always best to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, sextuple, etc. think exactly what you're agreeing to do, because
You like write it out on a parchment at like the beginning, show it to them,
Yep.
or something like that.
Send it through the legal department.
and we'll get a little bit more into that when we get down to humans, because Victor's actually got some special insight there.
We will see.
But gnomes basically travel up and down the coast, providing travel for those who... Oh, yes, exactly, pyromancy. He has to keep his word, but you need to cross the T and dot the I's. Exactly. So, gnomes travel up and down the coast, and they do a lot of the travel that doesn't get done by the Adventurers Guild, because traveling through the Adventurers Guild always takes a little bit of coin off of the top of whatever you're doing, a little bit of taxing, not very much, because it's literally the only thing keeping the world together at the moment, because the world is very, very large. I mean, here, I zoom out all the way. This is the world. Do. I'm gonna zoom in to Demore. Zoom in. Zoom in.
To Demora.
Yep.
Put it up there.
And this distance,
It is not 3.6 feet.
this 3.5 feet, takes a day of hard travel, assuming you can cross the river easily. So that distance is a day's hard travel, because it's fairly open. It's been well fortified. There aren't a whole lot of monsters between the inn, which is right in here, and Demore, which is right up here. So that one day's journey gets way worse when you're talking about these kinds of distances.
And presumably there might be more continents somewhere else.
Very true. So
That
gnomes
is-
do a lot
the
of
entire
the.
planet, isn't it?
Nope.
This is
This is the known world.
this
at
is the
moment.
known world, and this part over here,
Is still
Granara, is still kind of a
relatively
mystery.
unknown.
The gnomes have been there before, but that's because that's where they came from.
Essentially, that continent is mostly legend at the moment, as told through the gnomes, who are bards, so it fits.
Yep.
Is it there the dragons reside?
That's a good question. I mean, that's an interesting theory.
Good work, honey.
She's learning.
Yeah.
Mr. M. Dubois wants to know, what is the cause of monsters generally?
Well, when a mommy monster and a daddy monster love each other very much.
I suppose it's the same as the cause of bears or
Yes. In Avallore, they are mostly
Dinosaurs.
naturally occurring creatures.
Mm.
Within some amount of reason. The more...
Thrown in.
what was that, Sarah?
I said with the occasional lich thrown in.
With the occasional lich thrown in.
Which
I mean,
Yes.
technically naturally.
or even vampire spawn, which happened in thing like right near the mountains near Demore, I believe.
That is another interesting question,
I think that actually was in Forgotten Realms.
which we might end up learning in a future one-shot.
Okay, the answers to your questions can't all be, we're gonna learn the answer later.
I know. But I'm answering that most monsters, like the cockatrices that are found in the Elven lands, like the trolls and ogres that are pretty much everywhere, like the goblins that are pretty much everywhere, they're just natural evolutionary things. There are... just as dodgy as a politician, please, Mr. M. Dubois.
So question, the vampire spawns, is it the one we killed with Sterling or is it someone else?
There was Thori. I think Sterling was there. Chesh was there, and so was Damris.
Are you talking about the vampires?
Uh
Was it the one I
Rinwin
run,
went
or-
with you as well?
huh. I think Rinwin was there.
He was, and
I think
Lucy
so.
showed up later.
Was it the one I
I see.
run? Or because that was in Forgotten Realms probably because it was Sterling's.
I may have a hard time hearing Victor.
Was it the one I run? Or...
I think so.
Ah,
Yeah.
because that was
All I
probably...
remember is that
Let me
he
see.
went back as a horse.
Yeah, because that was one of Sterling's missions, and that was probably Forgotten Realms then. Because he would not technically have any jurisdictions in Avallore.
That makes sense.
But that was probably before we like broke them up in different worlds.
So, interesting piece of information that you guys probably don't know, since I don't think most of you are in my in-person game. My in-person game actually chased down 6 vampire spawn in the vicinity of Demore and decided not to go to the inn. They went back to Demore, and they are currently now looking into the devil cultists.
They didn't decide to see if anyone knew about the vampires in the inn.
Nope.
This is the same party that summoned Asmodeus to me to deal with him, right?
Yes,
Right.
that's the same party. This is also the same party that when Frosty, Tacklin Frostbeard, one of the biggest names in Brudel, his player actually started running a different game, so he left the game. The party didn't go back to Magarius's tower to find out what had happened because of the deal that they made with Asmodeus. So, that'll be interesting to find out.
Jarius is so fucked.
Poor
Oh
thing.
no!
No more poop dungeon!
Oh,
It might be
so
more
much poop.
fiery poop dungeon.
Poop and brimstone.
The dungeon of the fiery poop.
It's like Taco Bell version of
The
Magarius.
fire poop goblins.
Fire poop goblins.
Tabasco sauce edition.
Oh my god.
I mean, their new
Don't-
sauce is called Diablo.
Now you know where they come from.
So, I think we've covered gnomes.
The hottest in all the 9 hells.
I have a question.
Okay.
You have something weird with orcs / half orcs that's different about Avallore than in the HP, correct? Or it's
Yes.
just that your what we would call half orcs are called orcs in Avallore,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So, orcs, there's sort of 2 varieties. There are the orcs from the Grove, and I will zoom in and show you guys all the Grove. This little green circle just north of the testicular Italy here.
Right there, which Grok should probably be in. I don't know.
Yep, I moved him away so you guys could see it.
Yeah.
The Grove is the Crop Slayer song.
Oh god. It's not even a well-written song.
Doesn't have to be.
So, the Grove is a stand of 5 ancient trees in what
Think,
used to be
Think redwoods.
basically a redwood forest. However, after a year or 2 of drought and a somehow caused mystical fire blew out a whole swath of forest, which made it even harder for the orcs to resist the dragons when they swept over. There is still a stand of 5 ancients. And the ancients are basically Ents, except they're more powerful and
Not mobile.
not mobile. Yeah, that's kind of an important part.
The ancients of lore.
Mm-hmm. And the ancients, the Grove of the Ancients, is where... we're getting to that, Mr. M. Dubois. We are getting to that. The ancients are what the orcs of the Grove worship. The orcs of the Grove are very kind of spiritual, naturalist, caring people. They're very calm and collected, which is why I'm kind of thinking Grok probably didn't grow up too close to the Grove. Or if he did, he hated it there.
Is it there all the orgies are?
Yes, actually. It's outside the Grove. Those who are not very, very thoroughly inducted into Orcish society are not allowed near the Grove of the Ancients. You can just barely see the trees, and we actually found a picture that's going to be done by Knight, I believe, or edited or futzed with by Knight. That's going to be that's going to be an image of one of the Grovents, or an image of one of the ancients of the Grove.
It is.
But yeah,
Oh, I guess you set that up. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, I pointed it out and said, "Ooh, one of the Grove, one of the ancients," and you were like, "Okay," and took a picture.
Yeah, I remember taking the picture. I don't remember it being edited by Marcel.
Oh no, because he's been doing cool work stuff.
Yeah, but that's not what that picture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the answer to Matt's question.
Anyway, so yes, well we're getting to that. We got to get down to the humans first, though.
Get there faster. I don't care about
Fast
humans.
forward.
Technical question. Are there crocodiles
To
close
be
to the
fair,
groves?
not really anyone cares about
They're
humans.
close to the grove.
Well, humans care about humans, and there are useful things that humans do. But
Picture asked a question. He
he
wanted
said,
to
"Are
know
there
if
crocodiles?"
close to the grove?
Not a ton.
I imagine
Not a
they'd be
ton.
mostly in the swamps
I wonder because
Which are
Grok the
north.
Croc-Slayer.
up by Gustum.
The Croc Slayer name came about from grand old legend.
Yeah, the Croc Slayer was actually, I would imagine, on the west coast, over here, where he met Zenzadunk, because he in fact destroyed the Croc and saved the cat from Zenzadunk's ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was a saltwater crocodile.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh my god, I'm so glad Mr. Dubois is here because he asks fantastic questions.
Do the
Yes.
denizens of Avallore refer to it as Avallore, and if so, why, and how did they settle on that name? And the answer to that question is, I don't know.
Magic.
They kind of do because I've been doing it as the DM, and the players have been doing it as the players, but I haven't given any thought to do they refer to it as Avallore, or why, and how they settled on that name is because Deus Maximus told us so.
I imagine that's something that's going to be worked out in the campaign also.
Perhaps the different species call it a different thing, and it's just called Avallore in common.
That could be.
I have an answer for his. Has Avallore ever been ravaged by plague? Question. The
Yeah.
answer is yes, and the plague is humans. There's your segue.
Dang.
Oh my.
The whole of Avallore has not yet been ravaged by plague. There is a plague that is ravaging the human lands, and it hasn't come up a whole lot because it's not the kind of plague that like the Black Plague was. It doesn't take 1 out of every 3 people or however many it took.
And also, at the moment, the humans are fairly contained.
Yeah.
Contained.
Yep.
Contained, yes.
They
that's
seem
changing.
to be winning.
I
Yes,
have a
they have
question.
the devils to help them.
What's
So,
up?
The different pathogens and stuff. Do the Adventure Guild world has some kind of protection for that, so it don't spread between the places?
No, but they have clerics, and I think remove disease might be a low enough level spell. And if it isn't lesser restoration, probably
they-
takes care of most of the.
Lesser restoration does it, and so does lay on hands.
Oh, I mean, but do they have like a quarantine thing or something to keep it from spreading? Because they have like this thing that just jump between the places.
Yep. So, the other orcs are the orcs that live farther out from the grove.
Mm-hmm.
And the other orcs, by the way, all orcs that are PCs use the half-orc stats. We don't have, like, full orcs as PCs, or at least not yet.
So you don't
Monstrous
move
orcs.
90 feet a turn.
Correct. They do not move 90 feet a turn unless they are also rogues.
Or monks.
Or monks. Anyway,
Actually, monks would probably move like at least 120 feet a turn. Because that's how far Damaris could move.
so, the farther you get from the grove, the more orcs revert to a more normal orcish stereotype, where they become more aggressive and more warlike. And so the orcs farther from the grove tend to care more about like their nomadic clan, whereas the ones in the grove just really care about like how they fit in the worship of the ancients.
Mm-hmm.
We should answer Matt's question.
I'm getting there.
Apparently, I'm not allowed to talk.
I know, right?
I was in the middle of talking about orcs.
Yeah, but you came to a stopping point.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
They're more warlike and fit the stereotype better. However, the way they exhibit their warlike tendencies is the farther they get from the grove, the more they war between clans and between tribes about how best to protect nature. So they still fit the naturalist kind of spiritual idea of orcs that the Grove has, but they approach it in a much more warlike and aggressive way. Now, what did Matt say?
Matt asked, portals seem to be common in Avallore. Is there any conjecture on their cause?
Magic.
No
Actually-
science.
magic!
Portals aren't very common in Avallore, at least to other places on the material plane.
In fact, there are very few.
Yes, the only place where there's a portal to another place in the material plane, as far as the society knows, is through the Adventurers Guild. But the Adventurers Guild moves from capital city to capital city of each race so that people can get to the different capital cities and move throughout the world.
I would say that Matt saying yes, the inn is so the inn is a weak point in the fabric of reality.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
very much so.
Because there's portals everywhere up there.
Oh yeah.
All of the portals.
Although all of the portals there lead to other planes, and those, I've been considering those a little bit more in the vein of the Dresden Files, which, not giving any spoilers, but you can basically tear open a portal to another plane that basically matches something about where you are on your plane. So, for example, when Pixie flies under the lake, she flies to a certain area of the Feywilds.
Oh, good, you read it.
Hell yeah, I did. And the location not far from the inn where I believe Thorian, Rinwin, and everybody went through the, you have to walk through it backwards to get to Doran's area, is in a very similar location geographically speaking, but it leads to a completely different place in the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
It leads to a place of cold and winter.
Yeah.
Why that is a good
But the
question.
exception of the inn itself, because the inn itself is, for anybody who plays, it's a portal to all lands.
But to be fair, I don't think the inn is technically in Avallore either.
It's not. It's not an Avallore inn. Avallore just has a place that corresponds with that particular interdimensional, whatever you want to call it, where you can get from one place to every other place.
I think its main anchor is in Gauntlgrim.
Yeah, I think that is,
Yep.
technically speaking, correct. Yes.
Yep.
While there are the portals to the Feywilds are very geographically sound, that they go to one if under the lake, they'll go to that same spot every time.
Mhm.
However, when Archfey bring you in, or even Greater Fey, it'll the location will always vary.
Yeah, they can choose where they want you to end up,
Uh-huh.
to at least some degree.
Varying on power.
Yeah.
Or,
Have there been any major incursions from other planes other than Asmodeus?
Asmodeus?
The incursions that have been experienced by all the races have all come from dragons. The first one was the halflings down here, and they were nearly wiped out by the dragons, and so rather than continue to hide in this desert, which wasn't working for them at all, they worked on their warrior tendencies and became a very warrior-based culture with honor and leadership based on your ability to fight. Which is why halflings get bonuses to fighting things when they don't have any magic.
I also think that it's been decided that all the different material planes have separate Feywilds and things like that.
I think you've confused Matt.
Ah, yes, Matt. I was not trying to tell you that dragons aren't from the material plane. I was trying to tell you that that is the only incursion that has been experienced by all the races. And Asmodeus has not incurred on the plane. He was actually summoned inside a summoning circle. And then
And never
subsequently
left the circle.
banished.
Probably
Well,
brushing
left,
his teeth. Well, I bet he can just leave anytime he wants.
pretty much. So, what do you guys know about dorks?
Pink is one.
Yes, she is.
They don't
So
like
is
to be-
Prick and Wank.
Yep.
Oh.
What were you saying, Victor?
They don't like to be confused with goblins.
they physically are exactly like goblins. They have taken the green grayish skin from their orcish ancestors and their short nature from their dwarvish ancestors and got the worst of both deals, so they look like spindly, green, hairy, gray goblins, basically. However, they were not cursed with the lack of intelligence that the rest of the goblins in the world were. So, dwarks are capable of passing for goblins anywhere, although why they would want to is frequently not, or it would frequently be a question. But dwarks tend to be very, very much more on the subtle, sneaky, and kind of like keeping to the background of things. They are the only race that was able to completely avoid the draconic sweep over the continent, because they built Scylla into the walls of the Provis Gorge, and they were able to disguise it well enough that the dragons didn't notice that there was food there, basically.
And when you think of Provis Gorge, think of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Another thing to mention about the Provis Gorge is that it is the only constant in the endless shifting desert. The endless shifting desert in which the Provis Gorge is located,
On the edge of, because the other side is plains.
yeah, is a continual changing of location, because you know how you can see that in deserts sand dunes like move all around? It basically does that. Very much so. And for some reason, and this one I haven't exactly determined why, but I know how, the Obscura Mountains were magically crafted with illusion magic so that you can't actually see them until you're in them from the desert.
That's cool.
So you basically have to accidentally stumble into the Obscura Mountains
In order to get out of the desert.
in order to get out of the desert.
Oops.
That's actually kind of what happened to the dwarves. Is they stumbled into the mountains and they're like, yay, mountains!
Yep. After
Why were the goblin blades cursed with the lack of intelligence? Matt asks.
Fun fact: goblins, according to the monster manual, log average intelligence. They're not stupid. I've been lied to.
let's see.
Matthew.
Is that 5? Oh, that's 5.
Yeah. They do lack wisdom and charisma, according to the 5th edition book. And
They look stupid.
Well, Fink always says she's smart, and she is.
But
Like-
she's not a goblin.
She's actually,
but
yeah,
she's
doesn't
not a
express
goblin.
herself well.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's not a
actual
goblin, she is a dwarf.
Okay. Okay.
And
Dwarves.
actually, dwarks have only one penalty, and they get to choose between wisdom and charisma.
Okay.
It is Gary Gygax's birthday today.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I guess this is...
That's cool.
And so I will have a moment of silence and thank Gary Gygaxis.
Who is Gary Gygaxis?
He's the guy who, well, one of the guys who created D&D.
Huh.
By the way, I keep leaning forward because Victor is actually sitting right over there.
That's why I look over there when I talk.
What about elves? Are we ready for elves?
Sure.
Or...
We haven't done a whole lot about dwarves or halflings, but that's okay. Elves. What do you guys know about elves?
Their,
Useless.
their society revolves around their plant companions. And their wars are useless.
It's about being generous, but it's very self-serving kind of generosity, it seems like, most of the time.
Yeah, their entire their entire ranks in society are based on how well kept their plant companions are.
Basically, they wear a sentient plant boa. Like
Elves have
for days.
planimals.
Planimals.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Plantimals, yeah.
Legally distinct from platypuses.
Yes.
I always imagine we haven't really met a lot of female ones, but like the big long feather boa with like a long like cigarette on a stick kind of thing, and they're like, "Oh, darling," that's kind of how I picture the elves.
A bit patronizing.
Well,
Yeah.
The
not all of the plant companions are like boas. A lot of them are like tiny little creatures almost, and they can walk on their own. The elves just like to have them ride on them because then you know that that flowering plant is associated with them.
Isn't there like a
Elves
pilgrimage or
are
something?
Cruella de Vil.
elves are Cruella de Vil.
What did you say, Victor?
Isn't there some kind of pilgrimage to make them
Elves of
move around?
darkness, yes.
Yes. It's not to make them move around, it's to get a plant companion. There is a pilgrimage that elves must go on.
I thought there was
So-
something about making them move around too.
Charity is a virtue that they hold very, very dear to their society.
Because I'm sure that Rentier went through it because his companion can move, but their others didn't.
And Hamish is still a useless prick, even though he's dead.
Yeah, Hamish is definitely a useless prick.
Were.
Do you want to clarify about the plant companions? And their... Okay.
So, elves have their plant companions, and I will correct you on one thing. It's not about upkeep, or at least it's not about upkeep in the way that a lot of people would think. Because you don't like care for your plant companion like you'd care for a garden. You don't have to weed it. You don't have to, pluck everything, because the plant companions magically are connected to their elf. And when that elf does something that is generous, like gives somebody, coins, or performs a service for someone else, or etc., those kinds of things, then their plant companion will flower in proportion to the generosity of the act. If they do things that are selfish or evil, their plant companion loses flowers and eventually leaves, becoming stick-like and empty and almost dead-looking.
Matt
How
has a-
would elven culture perceive an elf that did not have a plant companion?
Well, because your status tend to depend on your plant companion, you are either perceived as someone who is trying to dissociate yourself from the society, or as someone who is such a terrible person that you don't deserve one.
Okay. I was curious.
Matt had some, not question, but you might want to clarify.
Do
Because
they
in your
procreate?
world, the elves doesn't have like the subsets as the many others.
Yes, they still have the subsets.
Yes, but not
Um,
like separate in different parts.
They're not separate societies.
They're not separate societies. It's just some elves tend to be more intellectual and go kind of more toward the magical, mystical side of things. And some elves tend to be more wise and tend more toward the physical nature of things.
And
and
then
so-
we have the drow.
Well, and that's actually an interesting point. Drow are not a player character race in Avallore just yet. Although that's another thing that is going to come eventually. That's also another thing that's part of the campaign. But yes, they are very, very much manipulative, but also generous.
Not all of them are manipulative,
Not all of them.
but their society facilitates manipulation.
Yes. So, you can count on Patrick Bloom being incredibly manipulative, but also incredibly generous.
I think Pixie has met a drow. The
In Avallore?
well, not as played in as the character, but she has met Imara in battle.
Mm.
Probably the only drow she knows about.
If that were the case, then she probably wouldn't even know her as Drow.
Mm-hmm.
She would just
Possible.
be another of the Fae kind. Because they take on all forms.
And elves are descended from Fae.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yep.
Should we move back to the dwarves?
Dwarves, yeah. Let's see. Let's talk about dwarves.
Yeah, so what do you guys know about dwarves?
They like gold, and they diggy holes. uh,
Also,
they are far less about order than their pros.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say it's much less about religion and more about like science and stuff,
Uh-huh. They're very sciencey.
which is not technically chaos. It's more about quite orderly too.
Yeah. So they definitely have order in their blood, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
But they exert it in vastly different ways.
They definitely are very much creators. They fire the forges. They mine and they use the mines as resources for these for the forges, as well as like other abilities to create things like tailoring and leatherworking, and pretty much everything to do with your hands that you're able to create.
Yep.
Very crafty.
And
Very crafty.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned this a lot before, but they actually share space with forest gnomes.
Oh,
Never even heard of a forest gnome in Avallore.
that's why there's dwarves / gnomes right there in the
Yep.
red.
Franz Funfluid, in fact, is Trenkle Fuzzbeard's, or rather was Trenkle Fuzzbeard's best friend. He was actually the one who sold potions, or one of the people making potions for
That's right.
the dragon episode in Brudel.
Whiny little prick, can't see the glory of six mouths.
Vlar tried to make him feel better because he didn't know why he tried, but then promptly creeped him out.
As Vlars want to do.
Yeah.
because yeah,
Because he's
humans
Vlar.
in there. Yeah, he's Vlar.
Yep.
Vlar does the creepy things.
Do we want the top of tower?
I don't think we have a whole lot left because we gotta finish the dwarves and then head down to the humans and then we're done. I think.
Having
Now,
I guess-
are there tieflings in Avallore?
There are the mechanically tieflings are the frost dwarks.
Yeah.
Um,
But if there were a legit tiefling, you would have had to come from somewhere else, like Feywild, say.
Well, what's the 5e mechanic for tiefling? Like, where's their origin story in by the PHB?
Oh,
they come from devil blood or demon blood.
Far down the line.
Well, that would probably
Easy
explain
enough.
it.
yeah.
So certainly
devil blood.
possible.
What about the genasi and stuff?
Mostly devil and human blood. As Asmodeus decided that was going to be the case, and did the ritual.
Oh, hello, Robo.
In the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, there are other origins for certain tieflings you can have. Which includes abyssal origins for certain tieflings as well.
Interesting. So I imagine there could be. They're probably
Yeah.
fairly rare because
Extremely rare.
Wasn't Damaris from Avallore?
As most Damaris uh,
Damaris
he's
was
a
from the
special
Feywild.
case.
Wow.
Yes, he was from the Feywilds.
Essentially, we've created Avallore so that any race from the PHB can be played. Their rarity is not necessarily as the PHB states.
Yeah. We take the mechanics and a lot of the background of like how they tend to act, and so that you can say, I want to be an elf that fires arrows and believes in nature, and you're gonna fit right in. But the more you look into the background of Avallore, the more you'll understand why those things work and why your character might do those things.
Have you any like fire genasi or stuff in Avallore?
I would imagine there's probably some on the plane of fire. That's where they come from. So
We do know there are a bunch of water genasi that happen to pop up from like the water plane sometimes.
yep,
Num
and
genasi.
in fact, water elementals have been known to have been found on the material plane. And in fact, one of them made a deal with a sea gnome family and is currently invested in a shield that is protecting one of their daughters.
Ooh. Magic things.
The shield
Indeed.
lady played.
And her name is Deluge.
Cool.
Another
Sweet.
thing we know about the dwarves is that they pretty much didn't really have religion for a long, long time until very recently, when Trinkle Fuzzbeard uncovered a temple, an old, decrepit, dilapidated temple, to some sort of snake being, and has since become the High Priest of Zithramouse.
His influence is spreading.
And has been gathering up a nice little cult. I mean, group of worshippers.
Our
Not
cult.
a cult. We're an order.
You're an order, not a cult.
Born of chaos.
You're
Alright.
a cult. Blood for the blood god.
So we kind of went over halflings. Was there anything else you guys wanted to know, or was there anything that seemed confusing? Because it's been a while since we've done a halfling, or since I've done a halfling one-shot.
I think the most recent halfling was in the Bard shot.
I mean an
Actually,
actual
the most
adventure
re-
with the halflings.
Say that again, Card.
I meant an actual adventure with the halflings.
Gotcha.
The most recent one that I've seen is probably Zubaru. Oh no, not Zubaru. The one that went with Finnegan and Flar through the test in the Spy Guild.
Tauren.
Oren, yeah, this is the most recent one I've met.
Yep. The most recent one I've run in the Halfling lands was actually Kalaktur, I believe, when they were in the Halfling village that had lost its gold, and they investigated the goblin tunnels, and then went and investigated
Oh yeah,
and found
I
out that it
remember
was a sea hag, and that she had been eating
Laura
the
was
gold.
there too.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the halflings. They're very, very much honor-bound warriors, and they are actually trusted with the protection of the Adventurers Guild itself. Only halfling warriors are permitted to bear any kind of steel or use
No, usually
bows.
they're monks.
They usually are monks, but they are the only ones allowed to bear steel or use bows inside the Adventurers Guild. Everyone else is forced to
Peace tie their weapons.
peace tie their weapons, but there's really no need because the Adventurers Guild is basically a place where everyone can get what they want, pretty much. So humans. What do you guys know about humans?
They're devil worshipping, no, not devil worshipping, devil summoning scum, according to some people. They do.
According to most of the other races, at least.
According to pretty much every other race, because they do summon devils, there is a very large connotation against them.
There's not a lot of trust for humans. I don't know if all of it is related to that particular portion of their culture, although it's come up a lot around here. But like, I think their culture, the humans always presented as what's the big deal if we do this literally all the time and nothing happens. But so there's like almost a built-in perception bias because like the other races only ever hear of the times when it goes wrong. So whereas people are like probably summoning devils every day. So there is like a little bit of a
Was a imp here?
against the devil summoning, but the humans are always like, what? We've been doing this for ages.
Usually all they want is a few drops of blood. What's the big deal?
Yeah, what's the big deal?
Well, I usually smack the mosquitoes to try that, but
That is a very good point. And in a magical society, a few drops of blood is probably more important than it would be otherwise.
I think that the devil summoning, just from a meta gaming, I'm a GM2 kind of perspective, like the concept of devil summoning is like Gilfrin or Dave. It's like that's something fun for the players to like to enjoy being against. We enjoy that aspect of it. Like, the devil summoning. Oh,
Vlar doesn't talk about it. Vlar doesn't really talk about it because it's normal to him.
Yeah, Vlar is probably in fact one of the people who is trained to summon devils. He just has other ways of getting what he wants or what he needs. And so it's not the first thing he tends to turn to.
I'm so psyched for starting playing Mordecai.
However, Mordecai...
Those aren't that bad if you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Says Dan.
Well,
Exactly.
Mordecai knows what he's doing, so...
So, Victor has made a character that is a human, and is a... Actually, I'll let you tell.
Well, he's a warlock, obviously. And is from the very old, and not at all newly created, College of Agreement. Who is like a mix between lawyers and teachers. That goes around and actually help people summon devils without repercussions. Well, they have to pay, but they pay what they want and not what the devils want. So...
And so the College of Agreement is basically a group of teachers that goes around to various newly formed villages or villages that have lost their wizard or warlock or sorcerer who previously did any devil summoning that was necessary.
Totally not to devil summoning did they lose these people, just they lost them for whatever reason.
They wouldn't lose their wizard and double summon. They take the guards. It's
They
fine.
could lose their wizard
They totally-
to something else.
They could easily...
Only were dragon or anything.
Something like
Yeah,
plague.
it couldn't be that they lost it to a plague of paralysis, which slowly turns you into a statue of coral. Probably not dragons
That's
either. There's no dragons
No,
in
no.
anywhere near Demore.
They're not ogres either.
There's certainly no centaur hordes
Or
roaming across the
ogres.
land,
I'm quite sure it's like slaughtered autumn.
or ogres or trolls. There's none of those.
Or basilisk either.
No,
No basilisks. Definitely no basilisks.
There's only
Or
Basil. I
vampires.
don't really know where he is now. He's
Or
roaming.
vampires. Or evil humans.
Right.
Huh?
Or liches.
Glitches.
Well, there ain't no more.
Nope. Dead.
I'm quite sure that
Yeah.
the killing of Wilfrin took out a quite huge part of the percentage at least.
Took
Yeah.
out a huge part of what?
At the very least, killing Ilfrin took out a large percentage of the liches in the human lands.
At
That-
least like 5% or so.
At least 5%, yes. I think that is definitely fair to say. At least 5% of the liches were killed when Ilfrin died.
Oh, he's not wrong.
In fact, I'd say it could be as much as
7 at least.
7%, yeah. Maybe.
6 or 7, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Depending
I'd
if you
say
count that
10 is a generous number. Anyway. Like,
In the human lands, that is.
has there been any instances of demon summoning in the human lands?
Not that's been officially recognized.
That wasn't the question.
Well, the answer is not that's been officially recognized.
Didn't
Because
they-
I don't want to say no, because, I don't know, probably. Either
There
by
are
accident or by an idiot. But,
Well,
no one teaches people how to summon demons. No one encourages people to summon demons.
there's no sanctioned demon summoning.
No.
But we know that Rinwind make a pact with the devil to kill a demon.
He did make a pact. Well, he didn't make a pact with the
Well,
devil.
not a pact, but a bargain.
Yes.
So technically there have to be some kind of summoning of the demon to get them to the thing killed.
That's an interesting thought.
Theory?
Well, not a
That
theory.
is.
I'm quite sure that the devils can't just go to the demon's place and kill them.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
All right.
there is a recent cult happening about devil worshippers.
There is. And they appear to...
Devil worshippers, not just devil summoners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually worship the devils. The cult does, not humans.
Yeah.
Well, the humans of the cult.
Oh yeah. What
Not
sort
humans
of like deities do the humans worship?
Asmodeus.
So, that's kind of a long discussion. And so we
All
can
sorts.
save the discussion of gods for another time. But I will leave it at anybody can worship anything. What they worship basically funnels from what they're worshiping. So if someone is worshiping Thor because of Thor's known ability with lightning and thunder, and someone else is worshiping Zeus because of his known affiliation with lightning and thunder, both of those gods exist. Both of those gods channel energy towards their followers. Both of their followers are going to gain power, but gods in Avallore don't actually have a direct impact on the world.
They're not personified as much as
They don't walk the lands like they do in Forgotten Realms, or like they can in Forgotten Realms. When someone uses a divination spell that says you talk to your god, you're actually talking to the embodiment of of whatever you're trying to learn about or whatever you believe in, rather than, and it just takes on the qualities of whatever name you give to that thing that you worship.
and an answer from divination doesn't have to be English.
And whatever personification that takes on, is that usually in the form of a person, or can it also be in the form of an object or a creature, or?
It's however you believe. This way, if a person says, I want to come into your world worshiping Thor, they're not going to come onto the land and have no spells because Thor doesn't exist here. They still are going to get their spells just like they would in some other place. However, if they start talking about how they believe in Thor, another culture is probably going to say to themselves, oh, they probably mean Zeus. Or, oh, they probably mean, Bast, the god of storms. And I realized that Bast is not actually the god of storms in Egyptian culture. But anyway, or whatever.
They don't have storms.
They believe in the chaos of a storm. And so to each of those people, when they would, if they were to use a divination spell where their god would appear to them, they would see Bast, or they would see Zeus, or they would see Thor, or they would see just a broil of storm clouds.
Mm-hmm.
They would essentially see what they want to see.
Because it is their belief that gives that god form. Rather than a god actually existing in a sense that gives them power.
Look at Sarah's face.
I have another question, but I'm not going to ask it right now.
Did you guys like this Q&A?
I actually kind of want to hear that question. But...
We can finish with that question, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll ask the question. The question is then, is there then no personage who, like gods can still, beings can still ascend, though, in Avallore?
Yes, they can.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. That was my question.
Mm-hmm. Should we tell them to fool?
What rule that gods can interact with the mortal
Nope.
plane?
How God ascends.
Oh, well...
Yes, you should.
Uh-huh. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know.
I don't think so.
Dang
Why
it!
not?
Well,
For something to be a god, their power has to come entirely from belief. It cannot come from certain knowledge.
Okay, yes, I did know that already.
Mm-hmm.
So chat, how did you guys like this Q&A? I know Matt loved it. Actually,
He
no,
asked
he
a lot of
probably hated it
questions.
because I didn't answer any of his questions the way he probably wanted me to.
you might have fallen asleep too.
He also might have
Oh,
fallen
yeah.
asleep. His questions
You only
did kind of-
mentioned briefly the question about the plague.
All right.
Oh, right, the plague. So, in the human lands and human history, the humans used to live mostly on the coast.
Or this India piece of land.
In this India piece
India
of
shit.
land kind of looks. However, on the coast, mercifully short, it was an hour and a half. This is nuts. Anyway, however, people started experiencing what we called paralysis, where over the course of days, a week, sometimes up to a month, a person would slowly turn from normal flesh to solid coral. So you might see a person walking around with an arm that was completely made of like a kind of a pinkish coral reef almost. And the rest of them would be moving around more or less adequately. And as they continued through the coralysis, they would become more and more coral until ultimately they became a statue. This continued as humans moved away from the coast, although it kind of slowed down a little bit as they moved more inland. However, you'll notice there's a giant river right up through the middle of this India area.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the humans aren't down there anymore.
Some still are.
Some still are.
Most of them have migrated up to where
Up
Damore now is.
To this area. Which is why the area around Damore is fairly well settled, probably one of the most densely populated areas in Avallore, and probably one of the safest areas in Avallore at this point.
It's almost entirely bordered by mountains, and the other border is the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Is
And-
Sorry.
And Coralysis has not been infecting nearly as many people here as it did in the south. No one has figured out why the Coralysis exists. No one has figured out how it is spread. And no one has figured out how to solve it.
Except probably through magical means. Like,
Magical means don't always work.
Would lesser restoration work?
Lesser Restoration will not do it.
We encountered somebody with that, right? There was a
In
mate mission
fact,
with that.
Rinwin and Pixie, on one of their mate missions, stopped at a man who had been turned into a Corellisis statue and placed a gem, or a stone, that they had acquired from, I believe, a sea hag, into his hand, and then left. And ne'er went back again.
Why is a mystery.
You should take Pixie and go back there and check.
That is something that we will have to do on another one-shot, which we will be playing not next week, because next week I'm going to fucking Gen Con!
Ow, ow,
Rip it out.
ow. We're
Sorry.
tethered.
We're tethered.
Almost ripping off your wife's ear.
Pretty
I'm
much.
going to Gen Con! And I get to go to Trade Day, so I'll actually be gone on Tuesday, Wednesday, and all of the rest of the days of the week.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and all of the rest of the days. All of
Legally-
the rest of the days, guys.
Legally distinct from Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes. Geographically accurate Tuesday and Wednesday, and then all the rest of the days as well.
The rest is a blur because we're so fucking lot of alcohol, so.
Is it August 2nd
Second
through
through
the
the
9th? Well, 8th.
8th-ish.
The 9th will be back.
Yeah. So, on Wednesday, August 5th, we will be having another one-shot
August
where I'm thinking about taking requests for what you guys want to do. Or at least locations or places or cultures you want to explore.
Maybe.
I'm
Should
gonna
we
absent
tweet
myself
them?
from that discussion because I'll give you a list.
Yeah.
How should they give you these
You can
suggestions?
send me a message on Twitch. You can send me a message on Discord. Oop. I'm gonna go over here and somebody else has got it.
Could finally kill off Blar. That's the thing that could happen. Also,
Discard.
No, Pyro.
No.
Why,
Oh.
Pyro? Oh no.
Oh no.
Pyro, I have some really good news for you. You will still be able to watch all of these one-shots on YouTube. Well, almost all of them, because I've missed one or two. But anyway, almost all of them.
you missed the owl one.
I did miss the owl one. I'm really sorry, Serratus. That was a really good one.
Congrats on your campaign starting, Pyro.
Yes.
Yay!
I lose plenty of
Yay.
people to campaigns starting.
Yep.
But
That's a
if-
great way to lose people.
That is
though.
yes, especially if you're running it. I love seeing more people becoming GMs, even if it means my pool of players grows smaller.
We'll just recruit them from the dark side.
But, Pyro, if you ever have a Wednesday where you don't have someone, or where people can't make it, I will be here, and I might be playing some games on off days as well, once I don't have a house guest that takes up all my time with all that needy, I
All
want to
that
play
hair.
video games with you, blah, blah, blah.
And
Anyway.
board games. And board games.
And board games.
Yeah, so many video games on this crappy computer. Like all of them.
So, chat, did you guys like this Q&A? I'm interested to hear. And while you are telling us, I will thank Serranis, Victor Sunshine, and Sarah P. That's Me for asking me wonderful questions, giving me wonderful feedback, and oh boy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I want to do a thing in Granara. That'll be fun.
Interesting. Perhaps I can make that happen. All right. Well, this stream will be going up on YouTube sometime in the next few days, depending on when I get enough time to highlight and edit and all that stuff. And somebody's watching Star Trek.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I love Star Trek. All right.
Just gives us some epic music.
So anyone can go to Avallore.com and sign up for one-shots. And for those who cannot make it on Wednesdays, I will be starting to play other games on off days as well, so that you will not be left out of Avallore, because Avallore is for everybody. Thank you all for watching. This is the Coven. She's wonderful. She's beautiful. And mine. And I am the Carpe DM. Thank you for watching. I think we'll probably do another one of these days.
Maybe answer some real questions.
Maybe answer some real questions.